Okay, Madeline, thanks for coming on. We had some technical difficulties, but here you are, and excited to talk to you because wrote this incredible book about Yoko Ono, and I started reading it, and it's really something.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be with you.
Thank you too. So maybe you could talk a little bit about before this, how you got interested in, Yoko or some of the music that you were listening to.
Sure. Well, when I was about 10 years old is when the Beatles' White Album came out. And I had known of them since I was a little kid with Ed Sullivan and all that. I was 6 when that was on. But I got into Yoko kind of separately. I saw an article of her in a magazine about her film Bottoms, and this was like 1967. And at this point, she had met John, but they hadn't really gotten together yet. And I just thought this is a really cool woman. Like she's doing something really strange, and she had a little sly look in the picture, and I kept the article. And within a year, I start hearing John Lennon is dating her. And
Huh?
I'm like, wow, now I can find out more about her. And sure enough, every day they're in the news with the bed-ins and the concerts and all the controversy and war is over posters and films they were making together. So that's how I kind of got into her. And I just followed them through my whole life because I just adored them. I felt like they were the parents I never had, just like the coolest people. Because my parents were much older and I was a young only child. So I kind of like really gravitated towards them.
That's really something because I was a huge Beatle fan. I grew up, I saw him on Ed Sullivan when I was a little kid, but I followed some of Yoko's work, but she was always kind of like on the B side of John's like singles, and so I really didn't follow her music as much as probably I should have after reading your book.
Well, a lot of it isn't for everyone, it's kind of avant-garde. But the first few things that she did, ironically, well, she, of course, had worked with John Cage and they did their kind of progressive
Yeah,
stuff live. But when she got together with John, two of her most beautifully sung songs are on the B-sides. There's Remember Love on the back of Give Peace a Chance,
right.
and there's Who Has Seen the Wind on the B-side of Instant Karma. And those are gorgeous. And she puts out her first solo album, Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band, and that's a wild excursion with she takes John along with her on that ride,
Oh,
and Klaus Vorman and Ringo Starr. And that wasn't very well appreciated at the time, especially because you had all these Beatles fans wanting John to still be a Beatle and but it was groundbreaking. And actually, Sean Lennon calls it, she doesn't know anything about punk rock, but here she is inventing it. So that was a groundbreaking album. And then she went on to make a lot more conventional stuff. Her next one was Fly in 1971, and that was half avant-garde and half traditional style singing. And then she went into Approximately Infinite Universe, which is double album of
yeah, isn't that
many,
something?
many genres.
To put out a double album now, that was what, 1973, right?
Right, right. And I guess she got the cue from, George Harrison put out a triple album. So, she bet Fly was a double as well in 1970. And then so she was ahead of John as far as solo albums in quantity at that time until, he kind of
I was
caught up.
interested too in the early, before she met John Lennon, was all the experimental music with John Cage, Lamont Young, and that's a part of Yoko Ono that nobody really talks about.
Right. So yeah, I mean, John doesn't come into the picture until about 100 pages into the book because she had such well, between her childhood and her ancestry with being so riveting and interesting, that during World War II, Tokyo's being bombed. She's evacuated to the countryside with her siblings. They're searching for food, eating mulberries off the trees. People don't know, all this. And her family descended, they were wealthy billionaires, like the
Hmm.
Rockefellers of Japan. And none of that did her any good when the war came along. They were searching for food and also It's a fascinating story. And then there's the loneliness of her childhood. And of course, the fact that John's parents abandoned him as well. So they had that in common. And that's what really bonded them.
Now, this was quite an adventure for you to do a book like this, 558 pages. And now, did you get input from Yoko as
Well,
far as the
I
book?
spent a lot of time with Yoko over the years. Um,
Okay,
yeah, and I didn't know I was writing a book. I mean, this came about through years and years of writing. You know, I was a journalist. I was writing also for a Facebook group I have just about an artwork, about a film, about, just little aspects of her life. And I had chapters about all the albums and all the so one day during COVID, my boyfriend gave me software and he said, well, you can dump all your documents in here and see what you have. And I had a 500-page book once I spent 2 more years,
hmm.
organizing it and streamlining it and fleshing it out.
Yeah, that was to get the input from her, and then what from you talk to her family too, I see, right? About
I have quotes from everybody from, the musicians she worked with or, people in her family, but a lot of it was from articles I collected. I didn't even, a lot of people are deceased now. But I had all these quotes from people and I did speak to Sean and her daughter but mostly it's from published articles of the time. So nobody's got like some foggy, distorted memory of what
right.
happened. It's all, how it really and I debunked all the myths and the lies, and people were told to write scandalous pieces on her, or the article wasn't accepted. I mean, I was talking to journalists, and one had the integrity to pull the story, but most of them just went with it and wrote the lies.
She always got a bad rap that she broke up the Beatles. I mean, that's what everybody kind of thinks, but I think that was happening inevitable. I mean, I don't
It
think
was. It
Yoko.
really was. And there's a couple of quotes in there that one is from her where she says that, John turned to her one day and said, I'm leaving the band. And she shuddered and thought, well, wait a minute. He actually said it's just you and me now. And
Mm,
she thought, wait a minute, what's he going to be preoccupied with while I'm doing my work? Because she was an artist. You see
right.
her at those Let It Be sessions. She's writing and reading and thinking about her next thing. And anybody else would be, glued to what the Beatles were doing. So she was like, didn't ever think she could collaborate with anyone on that level, but they went right in step and started making films and making, the music together. So that was lucky that they could really gel like that.
I wanted to talk about a couple of the records too. I mean, the Plastic Ono Band record. I love the song Why. I mean,
Oh,
beautiful record, beautiful song.
amazing.
I mean, she just really knew how to write.
Well, yeah, I don't know how much she wrote that. It was one word, but it
Right.
was incredible. There's nothing like it. And then, it's one of John's favorite pieces of all time. He said it's like the new Tutti Frutti. He thought it was so monumental. And she freed John from the conventional formats, and he gave her a beat and kind of reined her in and got her to do more traditional stuff. That kind of really rubbed off on each other.
She must have been a hard time being married to a Beatle, though. So much attention on him, and the wild period that he had there with in L.A. and Harry Nilsson and that whole crew.
Yeah, she had a lot to deal with. And a lot of people say she got famous because of him, but she was on her way anyway, in the
Mm.
art world, where she really, that was her realm. And she really that publicity, that kind of publicity and the hatred and all the detrimental energy just really was not good for her. But she persevered with grace. You never heard her lash out at anyone. She just turned it all into positive energy and continued her work.
Now, if anybody would start with a Yoko Ono record that doesn't know any of her music, what album would you recommend for people to start with that could really jumpstart Yoko, and then people would continue to listen on?
Well, I would say approximately Infinite Universe, the double from 1973. There's beautiful ballads on there. If Barbra Streisand had recorded some of those, they would have been number one hits.
Mm.
Um, just beautiful stuff. And there's a blues number on there, Is Winter Here to Stay, which is intense and just amazing songs. A lot of them are about female liberation, actually, because she was a very strong advocate for women's
And
rights.
she was lucky she had what Klaus she had Klaus Foreman, Eric Clapton on her records,
Oh,
Ringo
yeah. In
Starr. I
fact, I'm
mean,
working on a book just about her music, and I'm interviewing a lot of people that worked with her. That's going to be my
oh
next book.
wow. And
Yeah, and it's
when's that
about
going to be out?
that maybe another year or two, but this is the potential cover. It
Oh,
kind of matches the book cover. The same artist did it
oh
for
yeah,
me.
look at that. And
So,
that's a great idea.
yeah. And, Sean promised me an interview for this. And yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's fun.
Are you going to go through the songs, her whole catalog, and talk
Yeah, well,
about?
in the book, in the biography, there's a chapter about every album, and I go through each song, but this is going to be more in depth, talking to the musicians and also ones who were influenced by her, much deeper.
Wow, that sounds like quite a. Now talk about the some of the remixes. I know that you like this band Sparks, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're a great
Sparks of my
band.
long time, probably one of my number one bands. I've loved them since I was 14. I ended up writing their newsletter for 20 years. They're friends of mine now, and they did a remix of one of Yoko's songs, Give Me Something.
They
So
were
that was pretty
unique.
incredible. Yeah, they're one of the only ones who kind of left they went over her vocals and kept some of hers, but Russell, really sings it, and Ron did a cool orchestral arrangement over it. It's really
And
nice.
now she worked with Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon on a record too. I see that.
Yes, Yoko Kim Thurston, they're very big fans of hers, and they've played
Okay,
live with her a few times.
how about
And
that?
Thurston has the book. Thurston actually bought my book, so I was really thrilled.
Oh, wow. How
Yeah.
about that? Well,
Yeah.
it's an amazing book. So what else are you going to be working on besides this? You have other artists you're going to be continuing to pursue, like bands or other.
Well, I have a blog which has all my music writing on it, and I'm slowly putting the articles over on Substack, which is still free right now. So I'm just kind of putting those out little by little, and I'm just working on the music book.
Now, I'm curious, what do you think Yoko's place will be in culture going forward? I mean, maybe now, what do you think some of her influence is or would or will be still?
I think it will ultimately be what she wanted it to be. It's going to be in the art world. There are major exhibitions of hers, retrospective, all kinds of
Hmm.
exhibitions all over the world. There was a huge one at the Tate Modern. It just was
Oh.
in Chicago. It's going to LA now. It was in New York in 2015. I followed her through the whole exhibit. It was so great. And people are actually understanding her work. They're walking through these pure white spaces, looking at this art, which is really meant for healing and participation. And when you go
Hmm.
see like a surrealist exhibition or expressionist, Van Gogh, whatever, you don't come out saying, wow, that was for me. I relate to this. I can apply this to my own life. And that's what she's all about. And I think that's hopefully going to be her legacy because you've still got these Beatle fans perpetuating rumors. I mean, my cousins' daughters and sons who are in their late 20s now, that they still carry these misinformation lies with them about her. I'm
No.
like, wow, this is really oh, but that's what's happening in the music world. But if they were listening to people in the art world, they would see that, Yoko has a place there and she's very respected and understood there.
Well, it's people like you to get the record straight of her life and the fantastic life. She's still alive at 93. It's God
93.
bless her. What a life she's had
Unbelievable.
through all the turmoil with John and everything else that happened. But it's she's persisted and she's considered one of the major artists of all time here in modern culture.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. She witnessed that there was an event in LA that where other performers did presented all of her work, whether it was a dance to one of her songs or a cut piece or an event of hers, and she got to see that, and she was just blown away.
Now it's available on paperback now, right? The
It's been
book is
on
it?
paperback. I did it kind of in reverse. I did a paperback and I never thought I'd have a hardcover, but I did a sample hardcover and this is it. And it came out beautiful. So I'm
Oh
only
wow,
selling
look
the
at that.
hardcovers on my own. You can only get them through me at conceptualbooks.com and with the option of having it signed. So
I got to
this,
pick it up on Amazon now. It's available everywhere, right? On all
yeah,
major.
the hardcover isn't on Amazon. It's just
Okay.
because I can't sign them if they're on Amazon, right? So
So would I have to order from you direct to get a signed?
this one,
I'm gonna
conceptualbooks.com.
get it. I'd love to get a signed copy of this.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
you've done a great
And
job
then
with
the
this.
ebook is out too on Amazon. If people in other countries who don't want to pay shipping charges, just get the ebook.
Well, it's have you been able to sell a number of the books to?
I have. Well, actually, I've reached the most important people. I've reached a lot of celebrities, a lot of her colleagues.
Hmm.
Of course, Sean is really supportive. Her daughter, um, her grandchildren have it now. Ringo
Oh,
has it. Paul has it on his desk, whether he
Paul
read it
too.
or
Paul
not, I don't
Nomi.
know. But yeah, Olivia Harrison recommended it on Instagram. It's just John Dunbar of Indica Gallery who introduced John to Yoko. He loves it, and he gave a copy to Marianne Faithfull, who he was previously married to. And I just want people who know her or knew her to get a deeper understanding of her as well.
Well, it
And I've
definitely
sold
does it.
yeah, and I've self-published, so of course I'm limited in scope, but it's doing extremely well for a self-published book.
Well, it
And I've
should.
had to
It's a great job.
self-publish. Yeah, nobody would let me do, they always wanted me to cut it to 200 pages. And this is a woman's 93 years of life with John Lennon and
Yeah.
without John Lennon and all these years. It's a history of the 60s and the 70s, and it's so fascinating. So I had to just do it myself.
Well, you've really put everything together. I mean, it's a full life, and even after John Lennon passed, there was still another, a long life yet to go of things to do and stories. And you're
Yeah,
lucky you got to
maintaining his legacy, giving us all these gems that were unreleased, remastering the
right.
release stuff. Now we just got the one-to-one box set. We just got the one-to-one concert now. It's amazing.
Is there more archive music that's going to be coming out?
Don't know about archives. I mean, there's the Lost Lennon tapes, but that's all really raw home demos. So I don't know if, they could really do much with those. I mean, there's AI now, you could do a lot, but how much do you want to manipulate it? It's good enough that she's enhancing what he intended. But to drag that stuff up, I don't know. I don't know if they will.
Well, I think the musos out there of the world are going to still love her music. It's just this modern world, music. It's so hard to uh, hear everything now that there's so many people making music online and to laptops and everything that. But these are the type of people that are going to withstand that. The Beatles, Yoko, everybody in that whole era was a whole special period.
Yeah, Sean's label, Chimera Music, reissued a lot of her albums, her solo albums, and in May, Season of Glass is getting a nice reissue. So I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Well, listen, Madeline, this has been great. Thank you for your time. I'll just put in the description where to find the book, and congratulations. It's just it's fantastic, and the legacy you've kept alive, and it deserves to be.
Thank you. Thank you for helping spread the word. That's my
Of
main
course,
problem is reaching
that's
more
what this
people.
show's about, to get the word out for great music out there, creative people,
Hmm.
and creative authors like yourself who did so much research and work. It shows it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Madeline. Take care now.
You too. Thanks for the interview.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.